Today I thought it might be a fun video to talk about my favorite lenses over the years. Not necessarily best as in best objectively best optical performers, because I think if that was the list, it would all just be, uber expensive cine lenses. But instead, lenses that have had either a significant impact on my, career, lenses I've used a lot, or lenses that have, some kind of sentimental value. But I didn't want to just do all the lenses myself. So we have a guest, Terry Warfield, everybody.
What's up?
He's here to help with the list. I think I'm going to do 5. Terry's going to do 5. We want to hear what some of your favorite lenses are. You'll get a better sense of what we're talking about as we get into it. But let us know in the comments a lens that means something to you and why.
A lot of times it's about nostalgia, right? Nostalgia, and like sometimes it's an area, and maybe this ties into nostalgia some. So some lenses remind me of something, right? Like a situation I've been in, or maybe a period of my life.
I think you're 100% right that lenses can almost represent a time in your life.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I was using that lens,
Yep.
and it probably means more than how sharp it was or whatever.
Yep.
And I thought this would be a fun topic because often on this channel, we're nitpicking longitudinal chromatic aberration or some of that. And instead, It's like, what lens were you using and why is it special to you?
Yeah. The first lens on my list, and again, this is in no particular order, 50 millimeter f1.2 gangsta mode. Okay. It is
He means G Master.
G Master.
For the people that aren't familiar with Terry Warfield. By the way, I didn't really give a proper introduction. We operate in the same circles, but there's a chance that some people haven't seen both channels.
Hey, it's me. All right, I don't like calling myself a filmmaker. I don't like calling myself a photographer. I don't like calling myself, what's the other word? Influencer. I freaking hate that word. Listen, I'm just a nerdy dude who like cameras, who like to go on videos talking about these cameras and trying to teach skills that I know and I've learned along the way. So I'm just trying to pass the torch and pass it down. So that's what I do. I'm a 50 millimeter snob.
Okay.
All right. I know some people prefer 35 and whatnot. I love 50 millimeter. And actually, this is my one lens that is not tied to anything sentimental. I purely love the 50 millimeter f1.2, all based on ability. It's a crazy sharp lens. The bokeh is really, really good. And of course, it's a G Master and all that stuff, but it's just an amazing image that comes out of it. If I had to pick my thing that I don't like about it, it's a fat lens. It's a big lens.
And they made the 1.4 after, which is more compact.
And arguably, and I said this in my video, probably 95, 96% just as good for, what is it, $1,000 less.
It's significantly cheaper, yeah. For my first lens, I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction. This is a Canon EF, so DSLR, 24-105, f4, L, IS, USM.
AKA dinosaur, is what I heard.
The only reason why I'm putting that much effort into lettering is because Canon makes multiple versions of every lens. So this is basically the Mark I of the 24-105 f4 for EF with stabilization. I don't know how it stands up to 2023 standards. I don't know, man. But for years, it was like a workhorse lens that felt like it had no business being as sharp as it was for a crappy kit lens, right? It's not a crappy kit lens, that's the point. And I think like there was probably some primes at the time that it was competing with. The only issue you could say is a little bit slow at f4. That'd be my con. That lens was a significant portion of my camera journey, and so I gotta give it props.
That's fair. And I'll say that 24-105 is probably is the most versatile zoom range out there, even if it's f4.
Although, speaking of Canon and 24-105s, have you seen, it's for RF now, I'm pretty sure. Well, it's gotta be, because they're only making RF lenses now, right? But it's a 24-105 f2.8. Have you seen this thing?
No, but it's probably the size of a submarine.
Yeah, it's big. I think it even has like lens supports and stuff like that on it because it's so big.
Yeah.
Now, it solves that problem. People are like, I don't like an f4, but you're going to pay the price, both the price and the size and weight.
Did they come out with a price for it yet?
Probably. I don't think I saw that. I was like, that's not for me.
Yeah.
One thing I should say is that I was talking about the Mark I not because it's better than the Mark II or anything like that. I just never used the Mark II. I think the Mark II came out like 2016. I was already transitioned to mirrorless. So, but I mean, it's probably a better lens. So really it would be that one, but I only ever used the Mark I.
I would think it would probably be a better lens. 15 years plus newer, right? I think we're
gonna make it worse.
We're gonna make it worse.
Mess with you.
Right. All right, it's my turn. Okay?
Yeah, what you got?
My number 2 will be like, it's an old school Minolta. Okay. Minolta.
Who's Nolta?
Minolta.
Okay. It's not Minolta?
No, it's Minolta. The 70-210 f4 beer can. Just something about the image quality. It wasn't the sharpest lens out, but you know how we like to throw this character term around
Yeah,
when
yeah.
we talk about
You're gonna
lenses?
bring on that character?
I'm gonna bring it out. It had freaking character. And it gave you, what's the lenses that have like the swirly
Yeah, they got Helios.
Helios.
Yeah.
It had like almost Helios type bokeh.
Yeah.
So real swirly bokeh. And it was just a legendary lens for old Minolta cameras. And honestly, it's still sitting at home on my shelf, and that's one lens I refuse to sell.
Is that how they say it in Cleveland?
Yeah, Minolta.
Okay.
Now, that's a lens for me that had nostalgic value.
I bet. Yeah.
Right? Because we used to, my stepmother used to have an old Minolta camera. And I remember she would never let me touch it, so I would wait till she left, and I'd be like, I'm gonna touch this freaking camera, right? But that's how I got into.
Oh, Terry going to touch
I'm gonna touch that camera. Terry gonna touch that camera. But so that was a lens for me that had like nostalgic value, although it wasn't technically the best.
No, I get it.
lens, right?
That's a nice story. For me, my number 2 would probably be a Sony 20mm f1.8.
Ooh.
And this one is weird because I don't have any of the other reasons for it. As far as like optically, I think it's darn good.
It's good.
It's not like the most excellent,
Mhm.
but it's pretty good. And I just had a lot of really great photo sessions with it, where I really like the field of view, architecture stuff. I was like walking around New York. I took one of my favorite pictures of the Chrysler Building with it, and I was just like, I like this lens, and everything about it just, I don't know. Like there was a couple times where I took a shot of like sort of a pretty cliche, typical one of a New York City building where you can see in the windows a little bit. And some of the lights are on, some of them are off. But there was one down in the corner that I realized somebody was actually creating a silhouette in the window. And I was like, oh, how lucky is that? But it's going to be junk down in the corner. And I zoom in over there. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty sharp and pretty nice. And I think that's when they sold me on it. When I was like, that shouldn't have worked out as well as it did. And then you know what I started doing with it? It became the studio tour lens. I guess for me, it's always like, did you help me somewhere along the way more than just sit on the shelf and collect dust or something, which some lenses end up there. This was not a dust lens. This was a on the camera getting it done.
All right, third one. I'll make this one short. Tamron 17 to 28mm f2.8.
Okay.
Fantastic lens. It's not the sharpest tool in the box, but super small, super lightweight. 17 to 28, I used to think it would be a problem because I'm like a 16 to 35
Right.
type of dude, right? But I'm willing to accept that trade-off to get a lens that small, right? I might be missing out a little bit on the long end, but I get f2.8. I get a barrel that doesn't extend when I zoom in and
Right.
out, right? And the image quality is decent and it's small. And what I love about it is back when I did used to run gimbals, even though I can't stand gimbals now,
Right. Balance.
is the balance doesn't change. So no matter if I'm at 17 or 28, I don't have to recalibrate the gimbal or
That's a
anything
good point,
like that.
yeah.
I think the only thing I didn't like about it was it doesn't have Tamron's new design language, so it does feel a little cheap and plasticky. And I think they could definitely give it a refresh. And again, it wasn't the sharpest tool.
So it never got a Mark II.
It never got a Mark II.
A lot of the other ones, they've already done that.
They have
right?
already. So
Yeah.
hopefully, hey, Tamron, we need a Mark II version, okay? But even the Mark I version is real good. That's probably my most used lens, to be honest.
It's actually a perfect time to talk about Tamron because Tamron's actually doing a giveaway for a brand new 20 to 40mm f2.8 zoom lens, which I reviewed a while back. It was that tiny little lightweight 20 to 40 zoom
Yep.
that, speaking of gimbals, balances extremely well, and the gimbal doesn't change too much. Did you like that lens? Did you
I
review
did.
it? Yeah?
I did. Yep.
And it's got those VXD linear motors, so the autofocus is precise and fast, whether you're shooting stills or video. And you can customize it with Tamron's little lens utility. They used it for the 35 to 150.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't usually like lens utilities, but the Tamron one is actually pretty
It's
dope.
really good.
The giveaway is open to residents of USA and Canada only, but if you're a Canon or Nikon DSLR user, you can still enter the giveaway because Tamron will let you substitute for their SP 35mm 1.4 lens, since the 20 to 40 is only for mirrorless cameras. So to enter the giveaway, just use the link in the description below. Entry starts today and closes on December 10th, 2023. The winner will be announced by me and Tamron on December 11th on social media, and the winner will also be notified by email as well. No purchase necessary. See the link below for the complete rules.
The question is, do you want to win? And the answer is probably yes. So
Yeah.
go get
It's
it.
a free lens.
It's a free lens.
Yeah,
Go
it's
get
a
it.
great lens. I like it a lot. My turn?
Yeah.
Why don't we keep it on the Tamron kick?
All right.
Because I mentioned the 35 to 150, and this would probably be my newest favorite lens, if you will. Using it right now. Terry's lovely face
See
is
this?
being shot
All of this.
on this 35 to 150 right
All of
there.
this.
Look at him. We have it set to about 85 mil. Obviously, the versatility is the main thing.
Yeah.
Let me show you guys something. We can go all the way to 35. Look at this.
Where did you come from, man? Where did you come from?
You're seeing stuff you're not supposed to see right now, and we want to get real tight, intimate.
All up in here.
That's right. Terry, tell me something emotional right now.
I had to use the bathroom.
I see the gravitas behind needing to use the bathroom. So when I first got sent this lens, I was like, this sounds crazy. 35 to 150, and it's got a variable aperture. I usually don't go in for variable apertures because I always end up stopping down. I loved the Sony 100 to 400, but whenever I use it for video, I would just set it to 5.6. I don't want my exposure changing when I'm zooming, right?
Good point.
So there's a lot of things about it that I thought, I'm not going to like this lens. But they've actually done something really smart, which is that you can use it almost like a separate lens, a 35 f2. Use it for that purpose, right? Or you can use it as an 85 2.8 in this shot, which is good for video. Yeah. But then we also got the rest of the zoom range if we need. For crash zooms and stuff, it is awesome.
Yeah.
You know what Taylor Jackson told me? A big wedding guy.
Hey, Taylor, what up?
He said that it's like the #1 like wedding lens now,
Yeah.
the 35 to 150.
I could see that. I tested and reviewed the 35 to 150, and I had the same sentiments at the beginning. Like, nobody wants this focal range.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about a variable zoom aperture. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm getting tongue-tied. But come to find out, I think that's one of the most versatile lenses out there.
Yeah.
It covers like such a wide gamut of focal lengths that we traditionally use on a day-to-day basis. For me, I prefer it, and this might sound crazy, over 70 to 200, right?
Because of the extra wide stuff.
Because of the extra wide stuff. And y'all also have to understand that it's a lot more difficult to get wider than it is to get longer.
Going from 150 to 200 isn't going to make as big of a difference as getting an extra 35 mil on the wide side.
Right. So I don't know, man. That lens is just it's really good. And I'll say the con for you. Okay. It's freaking huge.
It's big.
It is a big
and heavy
lens, but at the same time, I'm okay with the trade-off because I'm getting pretty much 3 freaking lenses in one. And would it be any different than carrying around those 3 lenses, you know what I'm saying, versus just one huge lens? So,
and in an application like this, for me, it just lives on my camera. It has not left one of my bodies. It has been permanently mounted. That's how much I like this lens. What do you got next for us, Terry?
All right, Sony 24 millimeter f1.4 gangster mode.
Okay. He still means G Master.
G Master. Okay, listen, let me tell you something. The only word I've been able to use to describe how the photos or B-roll look, because it's a great B-roll lens, is magical. It is a really magical look that's hard to replicate, but there is a catch with that lens.
What's that one?
Breathing. Focus breathing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That thing breathes more than a runner who just got done running 5 miles. Like, it's ridiculous. So, like, as a video lens, it's fantastic. And with newer cameras with breathing compensation, obviously they combat it, but then you get cropped in a little bit. I think that's the major con is the breathing. Otherwise, it's a beautiful lens.
It also felt like it was a turning point for Sony that when it came out, people were gushing over it because it was like, is this what we can expect now from these new G Masters?
So sharp.
Just so sharp, so high quality, compact. It was like it had it all.
Yep.
I'll throw my G Master in now.
Okay.
Also breathes. Might even breathe worse. I don't want to cheat and make it 2 lenses, but I was tossing and turning between the 35 1.4 G Master and the 35 1.8 because I've used them both a lot for different reasons. Because of the breathing, my video lens was the 35 1.8. In fact, in the studio that was previous to this one, all the videos, pretty much all the videos there were shot on the 35 1.8. I loved it. For the bang to buck size, whatever, it doesn't breathe. It's like $700. It might be the best value sort of like fixed 35 mil video lens that you can get.
Yeah, it was tiny.
That would be the con though, is that it's a weird lens. Like the shape and it doesn't have many like switches or anything on it. It doesn't fit the form factor of any other Sony lens. The front filter diameter is like 55 or something.
You know, that lens reminds me, have you ever went to the store and bought like sliced olives in a can? It looks like a sliced olives can is what it looks like.
You got beer can lenses, you got sliced olive cans lenses. So love it. That's my like, I don't know, cheating kind of tie pick. But I went with the 35 1.4 G Master because now we do have focus breathing compensation, which solves that problem. And if it wasn't for the focus breathing, that lens is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I recently did a video where I compared it to the RE Signature Prime, which is like an insane 35 millimeter lens. And you'd be surprised. It's like so good compared that like it's not as good, but it's so close that it's a marvel what they're able to accomplish in such compact size, albeit a ton of focus breathing. But the main thing for me, and the reason why I said I would come back to you on the 50 mil, is that I like to close focus. And that's the reason why I choose the 35 and why I don't play with the 50. The 50s aren't for close focusing. Get a different lens. That's what you want, right?
Yeah.
But the 35, you can get so close. And I'm the type of person that I go on a photo walk and I'm looking down on the ground and I see some weird like bark and stuff, doing some weird stuff. I get right down in there. And when I got that G Master for the first time and I did that, I was so up in the business, Terry. And a lot of other 35s that I've tried that you can get close with, they suffer from a little like spherical aberration or some this kind of like glistening softness. There's none of that on the G Master. It is tack sharp, as close as you can get. You can get closer than anything else. You create these really interesting, surreal, because it's wide. It's 35 wide, but you're so close and it's so shallow that you get these like surreal, like almost like Salvador Dali kind of like scapes of like.
Are they mushrooms?
I do have one of mushrooms.
You know, so when you go on Pinterest or whatever, you type in 4K wallpaper and it's just mushrooms.
I took those.
Zero took them. But seriously, I got two thoughts on this. Okay. First of all, I remember testing that lens out and the breathing was so bad, it made me not want to use it. Like it's absolutely terrible. And I get we have breathing.
You can't overstate it. You can't overstate it enough.
Like
it breathes.
It's so bad. Like you would almost have like a focal length change.
You might as well zooming in. Your manual focus ring becomes a zoom
ring. Right. So there's that. I never took up close portraits with it. I got so turned off by it from the breathing that I never went back to it. The image quality was great.
Yeah.
I will say that, but you know, it just back when I did test it, to be fair, back then, I was not happy with it. But I will give it another go based off of hearing your thoughts and the fact that we do have breathing compensation now.
Okay.
All right. Now I have one more.
Okay.
Sigma 18 to 35 f1.8. Okay.
I would have put this on my list, just so you know. Like I'm with you.
It seems like every lens I throw out there, you like, oh, I would have put that on my list too. But okay, seriously. The Sigma 18 to 35 was a mind-blowing lens. Even though it was just a crop sensor lens.
That's the thing. You think 1.8 and you think, yeah, but it's a crop lens. You can put that thing on a full-frame camera and only like 18, 19 is off limits. If you shoot like 2021 and onward, it looks like a full frame.
That's one of the lenses I think Sigma needs to remake. Okay, make it updated version for like E-mount. That's one of the lenses.
Oh yeah, because it's an EF lens.
It's an EF lens. I wouldn't even care if Sigma just slapped a MC11 inside of it like they do.
They've done that before,
lenses, right? But I really think they need a refresh. That lens was legendary. If I had to pick one con about it, it was a big lens. It was a big lens.
It was.
So
you know, if I can add in, because it also was one of those periods for me where I used it a lot. Not previous set, but the set before that.
Mm-hmm.
I was running a Blackmagic Pocket 4K. And I think like a lot of people that ran Micro Four Thirds, it was like the formula. You go Micro Four Thirds, Metabone Speed Booster, 18 to 35. When you do all that, you're coming out of that body pretty far and it starts to get pretty bulky to the point that you can get supports for that. I just let that thing bolted down basically. I had the lens and the mount all supported to the cage on the 4K. It was like, that's the permanent setup, but that's all you needed because the focal length then gets speed boosted, but then multiplied by Micro Four Thirds and you get this really versatile, fast, beautiful lens combo. Of course, that would only work if EF though, because you can't do any of that speed boost and stuff if they make a mirrorless version, right? And maybe it just belongs where it was as like this legendary lens. I see what you're saying about want an update, but yeah, kudos to the Sigma 18 to 35. I think a lot of people would put that down as like an important lens to their journey. I'm gonna do a Sigma as well.
All right.
So this is a lens that I don't know how many people in my audience are familiar with, because it's niche and it's weird, but it's the Sigma 120 to 300 f2.8. That's a constant 2.8 all the way from 120 to 300. If you're visualizing a large lens, you are correct. I think with the hood on it, it's probably like it was big and it was metal. The hood itself was metal. You had to like bolt it on.
Wow.
It was, but the funny thing is it's so rugged. We were using it for hockey and it took a puck strike one time, which is why you always put your hoods on your expensive glass.
Put your hood on.
Yeah. Because if that hit the front element, man, right? But anyway, slap shot right off the hood. Hood, like, it had a scuff on it, like kind of like that rubber scuff thing, but it didn't even have a dent. That's how strong this thing was. Now, I should say that there was two Sigmas that were similar focal length. but there was a time where Sigma transitioned into making art lenses and sport lenses. They started putting those little silver circles. So this was a sport. I wrote it down. It was the Sigma 120 to 300 f2.8 DG OS Sport. It had stabilization. That's the OS.
JK Elemental P.
That's right. Yeah.
QRST.
All that. But not the other one, the H whatever without stabilization. And when Sigma was making like black and gold lenses and stuff like that. So this is, yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
It was, I think they were making for Nikon and stuff too, right?
Yep.
So yeah, this is a proper sport lens. I think it's probably discontinued now. But Sony just came with that 300 mil lens.
F2.8.
And I was talking about back in the day, was using a Canon 300 mil. And the Canon 300 mil was more expensive. The Sigma came up with this one for a couple grand less. And it was a zoom. I was like, well, let's give it a whirl. But obviously the purists were like, well, the Canon one's sharper in the center and everything else, right? But there was something that Sigma could do. And this is the reason why it gets on my list. Shooting hockey, right? You're at 300 mil. You're shooting the goalie. You're shooting somebody across the ice. And then there's something cool going on over at the bench. You pan a 300 prime over to the bench, you got nothing. It's just blurry. You're within the focus range, so you can't.
Blurry mess.
Exactly. With this one, as you pan, you zoom down to 120, and you get this cool shot of like the coach like talking to the player or something. It's like a candid moment, right? And then that player skates back out on the ice, down to 300 or back, I guess, up to 300, and you're tracking him again. For the weight, I mean, you had to put this thing on a monopod. You could not handhold it. It was a monstrosity. But the fact that you could do that, when you're the only person that gets that shot, that tells the whole thing, right? Other people were slinging. So they would have their 300 here, they would sling up and try to do that kind of thing. It's a different animal when you're doing this kind of thing.
So I have never heard of this lens before.
I bet you
that sounds crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't imagine anybody would have an interest in it unless you were probably, sports, probably, right? Like, what else? And, to be fair, I don't know that it has a place anymore because nowadays you got really good 7200s, put a teleconverter on there, and you end up with like a 140 to 400 or something, So you don't need it, but there was a time and a place for it when it was this nice, just this great little lens. It wasn't little. I shouldn't.
So what did you do with it? You sold it?
Yeah, and you know what's funny is the people that bought it weren't putting it. This was a Canon mount. I think they were shooting Nikon, but Sigma at the time, and maybe they still did it, would change mounts for you because the optical formula didn't really change. They have to just do a little flange work, and so you could take it into Sigma, and they would swap out the mount for you. And so yeah, I think maybe you couldn't get them anymore, and this person, there was no Nikon one out, so the person's like, I'll just buy it, take it to Nikon, and get it on my Nikon thing because it's still a sought after lens. But man, and because we would take it to rinks and it was metal, it was so cold. Like I believe it. The lens, it was just like felt like ice cubes, man. Okay, you were gonna say an honorable mention?
Yeah, I'll give an honorable mention.
Okay.
I got a few, right? But I think I'll give the honorable mention for my list to the Sony 90mm f2.8 macro.
You're not gonna like this, Terry.
What?
I was gonna put that on my list.
I knew it, man.
My longtime fans know I love that lens.
Man, let me tell you something. Okay, I know the lens is old and antiquated and all that stuff, but there's reasons that this lens was fantastic. First of all, 90mm at f2.8. It's a good portrait lens, right? It's not
purpose.
Yeah, it's not an 85-1.8, but it can get real close because you got that extra 5mm.
Very sharp in the center.
Super sharp, right? So there's that. The next thing is macro, obviously, and that for me is a big deal. I know you talked about like macro with the 35mm.
Well, like close focusing, but I'm not getting true macro.
Right. So this is a true 1-to-1 macro.
1-to-1.
Right.
With the focus clutch.
With the focus clutch built into it, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna do the movement on camera.
It's satisfying.
Yeah, it is satisfying. So there's that. The fact that it has stabilization built into it.
Oh, I forgot about that. But it's noisy, isn't it?
It is noisy, and the autofocus is also noisy too. But
and not the sharp, and not the fastest autofocus anymore.
Right. But that's definitely my runner-up.
That at one point would have been my favorite Sony lens for sure. Terry, I want to say thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. It's always fun hanging out with you.
I thank you for letting me come on the Gerald Undone podcast show thingy, whatever.
It's my talk show. It's my late night talk show.
Late night talk show.
It is late night now too. Last time I was on your channel, I did my outro. Do you want to do your outro?
I will do my outro.
I remember it now. It's like
don't mess it up.
The squeaky grease gets the wheel or something. What was it?
This guy's about to get taken hostage if you ever try to botch my outro like that.
Okay, lay it on.
Piece of chicken grease, tight shirt, Terry Warfield and Gerald. We out. Peace. And we're done.